Welcome back to another video. Previous video I installed the 4 speakers in the car, the 2 on the rear doors, 2 on the front doors, and now we are getting to the point where we're ready for the amplifier or the powered sub, either one that you want to do. So I'm just starting to investigate ways to run power into the car from the battery for the amplifier. And so if you look at this wire, where this wire harness goes in back here, right where that harness goes in, there's a little spot, almost perfect, that they're like, you can see it there. They're like telling you to put a hole right there for a power wire. And then when you go inside, it even gets better. So I removed this panel here. There was only 1, 2, 3, 5 little screws holding this under panel on, and here is that same big grommet where a bunch of wires come through, and right there at the top you can see right there, oh there we go, so there's like actually a nipple sticking out where you could like easily put a wire through. So I'm pretty sure that's where I'm going to come through. So I'm going to poke a little hole and start feeding some wire through, and we'll see. So I did manage to poke a little hole in that grommet, and now we have a piece of coat hanger on the end of our power wire, and we're going to try to force it through that little hole that we made. Unfortunately, I can't get under there with the camera, but so we'll give this a try and see if we get it through. So after a little bit of a fight, I managed to get the power cord through the firewall. I just taped it to this drill bit, pierced it through, and managed to get it through. It was a pretty tight fit to get your arm back in behind the battery here, but I will try to get back. You can see, it's hard to get the camera in here, but you can see, let me see if I can zoom in. You can see where nope, you can't. It's hard to see where it comes through the grommet, but it's a really tight fit, so there's going to be no silicone or anything needed there. So back there, pierced through the grommet, cable is through, and it's all good. Went through the spot that we wanted, up in that little hole there, and yeah, so now we just have to run it to the back of the vehicle. Yeah, not bad, pretty easy. So power wires all run in through the firewall up there, through our little hole. I'll probably zip tie that piece up there somewhere so it doesn't interfere with anything, but after I got in behind the trim, I was able to tuck it in all along the trim everywhere without taking any of the trim off at all the way through the back seat. It all tucked in under there just fine, and I haven't completely hid it in here yet. You can see it down beside the seat, but I'll finish that off another time. So far it's coming out here. The amp will be living under there, so gonna have lots to play with, foot to play with underneath the hood for hooking up to the battery, and that's all we're doing tonight. So I'll catch you back when I pick things up again. So while I have all the stuff out of the trunk, I'm gonna put some more sound deadening material wherever GM didn't put it. Left over from my Tesla project, I only have 1 sheet there and 1 sheet there left, so I'm gonna do the areas that weren't done here, under here, and then where the amp is gonna go on here. The amp's gonna go right there. I'll put some on the bottom maybe, so we don't have any rattles from the subwoofer. But you just put it down and use this tool, and it flattens it down so it doesn't take up a lot of room and interfere with other parts. So I found a little potential rattle here in the future. It might not be rattling now, but I'm gonna put a little bit of sound deadening material in between that and the body, so that's not an issue in the future. So I'm still waiting on the wire harness to come in from Arizona. It's actually in Canada. It will be here Tuesday. This is Sunday. I guess I could run speaker wire down the passenger side, but I got the sound deadening material installed underneath of here. Here is the sub. Just test fitting everything. Went ahead and drilled a hole and brought the ground and the power wire through where the amp's gonna be. I drilled it there so you couldn't really see it. I was gonna drill it through the hole here, or through the floor, but I thought better to bring it through here and you don't really see it. The subwoofer's gonna live right here, so that will be perfect. The only other wires I gotta bring in is speaker wire or RCAs. Not sure which one I'm gonna do yet. Progressing well. I got the brackets on the amp so I can mount them, but I have to shim here somehow because the floor is lower, so I have to put something underneath there. Now that is the progress. So I pulled the tub back out just so you can see everything I did. I still have a little bit of the stuff left over if I need it for something, but I put a big piece in the middle here. Could cover the whole thing, but not necessary. That side I just did wherever the factory didn't. My power wire comes in here. I ran it along with a bunch of factory wires in this little channel. There's my ground wire, and I ran them together, and that's where they're gonna pop up through the plastic tub and hook up to the amp. So at this point I have to wait for my harness to come in for the front, and I can run my speaker wire. I still don't know if I'm gonna use speaker wire or RCA. That's why I'm waiting for those to come in to see how they wired it up or whatever's gonna be easier. So that's gonna be it until the wire harness shows up. But I'm gonna throw the tub back in here and fasten the amp down, and we are almost done this project. Got to put all the carpet and stuff back down in here, or the sound insulation, and the tub, and wait for the harness to come in. Oh, I can do I can get the wire hooked up to the 12-volt battery. Just won't put the fuse in so it's not live. And yeah, making progress. Power wire is all hooked up to the battery. I swear they must have been thinking of people upgrading their audio system, because they put a little terminal right there. The actual positive terminal is down in there, but I believe it's all connected to this plate, and this is where you would clamp on something to boost it or whatever, and there was a nut right there, so that's where I don't have the fuse in there yet, so it's not live to the back. Fuse is right there. Everything's all together. Zip tied that to the emergency release for the charge port, and everything is covered in the black loom. Everything looks like factory. Just the fuse holder sticking out, and that slides on there like so, and we're done that part. So the wire harness finally arrived from t-harness.com. This is gonna plug directly into the factory radio up underneath the dash. So you'll unplug 2 couplers, and then these 2 couplers will take their place. The couplers that you take out will plug into these 2, and then at that point you're back to all the factory connections are done. Goes out to this little link. All the speaker wires are going into there. Here's your remote wire to turn your amplifier on and off when the car turns on and off, and here's your RCAs that will go back to your amplifier, or your sub, or your powered sub, or whatever it is. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get up underneath the dash to show you where this is going to be going. It's pretty tight up under here. Let's see. So the 2 couplers that are on the end, I can't really, there we go. So the 2 couplers that are on the far left, we're going to pull out. The harness is going to plug into there, and then those 2 couplers will plug into the harness that we got. Okay, so I'm pretty sure GM does not want you to get these couplers out. They were something else. I literally had to lay on the seat with my feet back there, head under the dash. You have to pull out that little white clip and then push in to release the connector, but it's so tight in there it's almost impossible to do. But finally got them, so now we can hook up our harness to here and continue on. So here we are again, our harness. These two couplers here are the ones that used to go into the radio. They now go into the harness. Now the harness has to go back into the radio. I believe the gray one went to the end. So you can see our two empty holes up there. I believe the gray one went to the end. What do we got here? Gray. This is gonna be hard to do with. Try to show you with one hand. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. I need both hands and a light and everything else, but we're just going back up into those two holes into the radio. Sorry I couldn't put the couplers in and run the camera at the same time, but we are now into the radio with those two couplers. You can see at the end there, gray and black. So at this point, everything is back to factory. So everything would work normally, and then we're ready to go back to our amplifier with some RCAs and a remote wire. We've got everything hooked up. Our unit is still there. I don't want to tuck it all away until everything's ready to go, but RCA and remote wire are hooked up. I just have to finish, miss that spot there, just have to tuck the wire in, but it's tucked in all the way along here. Don't have to take any panels off again, just like the power wire on the other side. Everything tucked in without taking anything off. It goes in behind the seat. Everything comes out here. So I just have to pull the tub out one more time, fish these wires through the hole, hook up the amp, and we're finally ready for some boom boom. So our wires are coming up. Our RCA and our remote, our final wires to come back here are coming from under the rear seat area. Taped it down there. It's running underneath this carpet. Everything comes up through this hole. RCA, remote, power, ground. Just got to put the tub back in, run those wires through the hole, hook it up to the amp, throw the fuse in the front, and we're gonna be ready to go. I got the tub over here. The amp was all fastened down, so I was able to screw right to the tub here, but then there's a little recess here, so I just put some foam underneath those legs and put the screw through. Nice and tight. Time to put it back in. So it's the next day, and I got the install done yesterday right before going to work. And to say that we were underwhelmed is a understatement. Here it is all installed. Oh, we need some light. Quite proud of my install job, nice and clean. But now I have to take it all back out. Installing it on this plastic causes all kinds of vibrations, which I figured would happen, but the sound is just complete garbage. Don't know how it has the reviews that it does on Amazon, but a new box one is on the way, so we have to disconnect the power from the battery, get this amplifier out, or the subwoofer out, and hopefully get the new one installed before I have to head off to work again. So we have to pull the fuse so we don't have any power back there, disconnect everything, get that amp / sub all packed up and back to Amazon, and the new one should be here any minute. I cut these wires off pretty short. There is some power wire underneath here. There's lots of RCA underneath here. But the ground wire that came with the kit was pretty short, but I'm gonna pull these back through, and the new sub is probably gonna live on top of the carpeted piece, and so the wires are probably gonna have to come out back there. So, and that's where they're coming from. So once I pull them back through here and out through there, I should have enough to hook up the new one. So I have to pull the tub out once again and get my wires coming out over in that corner, and we'll be almost ready for the new sub. Just like clockwork, it has arrived. I just got the other amplifier out of the car. Wow, that's a big box. Let's hope it's not that big. So here it is, the Pioneer TSWX1210A. It's pretty large. So got the tub back out one last time, hopefully. And the wires were running through here to the other powered sub. But I have rerouted everything so it comes out here. They're all right there. Put the tub back in, put the sub on top, get everything hooked up, and we should be good to go. So here we are, a 12-inch powered sub from Pioneer. Instructions, who needs those? Or trusty hardware. So it's your traditional speaker carpeted subwoofer, but with a built-in amplifier. And the box says up to like 1300 watts max. I always take those numbers with a grain of salt. But what do we have here? So you have a connector. You have to twist all your wires into a connector, which isn't. I wish the RCA plugs were right on here and a power that you screwed into and stuff, but you actually have to twist all the wires together onto a coupler. Let's have a look. So that's the only downside to this. I like the hookups on the other one better. That's your gain control that you can hook up for the front. So yeah, all your wires connect to this, and then this plugs in. Well, the only advantage to this is if you have to take this out, you need your space. You can just disconnect this and pull the sub out, unless you have it screwed down. But we'll figure something out. So yeah, your remote. Where's the power? I think power is yellow. Yeah. Remote, ground, so I have to twist those and connect those all together, and then just plug into the amp. Here's your wire for your gain control to the front. Here's your brackets if you want to use them. I don't think these wedge style subwoofers are pretty hard to get them to flop over one way or the other. Might go that way, but it's definitely not going to go back. Should sit nicely against the rear seats. And hopefully once it's back there, we can still open this, so that's nice. You don't have to worry about not being able to get into there. Sweet. Let's get her all hooked up and see how it sounds. So I've got all my connections made here with my heat shrink. So the ground, power, and remote are done. Just gotta plug these into here. We got some extra wire, but got room down behind the seat. We can just shove extra wire, maybe clean it up at a different time. So I'm just gonna throw some tape on these wires. Some speaker tape, whatchamacallit, for good measure, and we'll be ready to hook it up. So obviously I can't play any music for you or I'll get kicked off YouTube, but first test was astounding, 1000% better than that other thing. So 2 thumbs up for the Pioneer TSWX1210A. I only have everything turned up halfway on it, and it was just rocking. So we're good to go. I can show you the connections over here. A little messy right now. I just have to tuck all the wires away, but all the connections are taped up. I even taped up the RCAs because they have a habit of coming apart sometimes. But yeah, if you ever do want your trunk space, you can just pull out that coupler and you're good to go. So we have gain, frequency, bass boost level, bass boost frequency. So I put everything right in the middle for the test. Sounded pretty good, maybe just a little bit too much actually. So I will play around with it, and yeah, so I think this will finally conclude this video. The first powered sub did not go as planned. Oh well, good thing Amazon takes stuff back with no issues. So I hope this video helps you install your powered subwoofer or an amplifier or whatever. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.